to you. Uh, One of one's a story that's kind of personal, I guess you'd say, or interesting. With the RC planes, that was one that I kind of thought about. So my dad introduced it to me when I was real young, real little. First memories I got is of the planes. One incident they tell me about I don't remember, or they say I shouldn't be able to remember because I was less than a month or two old, but I even have a memory as far back as that of the field. Well, my dad got me my first plane when I was probably 8 years old, I guess, 8 years old, maybe 8.5 or so. Started learning to fly. The people at the field taught me. My dad never taught me to fly. He was never comfortable with training someone, and never was comfortable training me for some reason. Turns out he wasn't as good a pilot as some of the other ones was that trained me. So within about 6 months, between the 4 or 5 people that trained at the field, I was better than most of them. I literally had surpassed them. So it wasn't that much of a challenge anymore to me. So I got to looking for a little bit more challenging things. So when I was about 10, I became a flight instructor, teaching people to fly. I was the youngest one that had ever done it in that club. I ain't gonna say I was the youngest one ever at all, but for the Jackson Club, I was the youngest one that ever had done that. So I became an instructor. And that's a whole new challenge, because when you're training people, they tend to do things that's unexpected because they don't know what they're doing to begin with. They will make mistakes. They turn the wrong way, incorrectly, or whatever, and the biggest challenge is trying to keep them from tearing the aircraft up. Well, after about 2 or 3 years of this, that got to where I was able to predict the mistakes that people were going to make. I got good enough I could predict their mistakes. So my dad got me, I got to where I was pushing my plane to its limits and sometimes beyond it. My dad wound up doing a lot of the repairs, or buying new planes when I destroyed them beyond repair. But I did have one incident. I had what we call a mid-air collision. The first mid-air collision I had wasn't too severe, and I was able to land the plane. But the second mid-air that I had, me and my dad we dogfight sometimes. And we got to dogfighting because he had told me, he had made a bet with me. He told me, he said, "You can try as much as you want, but you'll never be able to hit me." He said, because for one, you're trying to judge in 3 dimensions. You're not judging in just 2 dimensions. So the first time, it took me about 10 minutes, and I mid-aired him. I got him. The second time, I got him on the runway, which wasn't bad. I had a second mid-air, and it wasn't bad. I guess it kind of qualifies as mid-air, even though it was on the runway. But the third mid-air was the one that wasn't very good at all. We hit, and when we collided, the front of his plane managed to tear the starboard wing of mine up fairly significantly. Without the covering that's on the wings, they can't generate lift. So the plane became very difficult to try to fly, because if you slowed it down, it tried to roll over on its back. That wing didn't create enough lift. And coincidentally, I discovered a new challenge. A damaged aircraft is very unpredictable, very hard to predict what it's going to do, where it's going to go, or how it will fly after something has gone wrong. And that became one of my next challenges, was aircraft that's been damaged either during flight or had something go wrong. And to this day, they still stay a challenge, because you never know what the problem is. You won't know while it's in the air. You have no way of knowing. Your best guess is just you know something is wrong. And 2 planes that's been damaged never fly the same way twice. Even if they have the same damage, a lot of times they won't fly the same way. So that mid-air that I had with him, the third one, when I was probably 12 years old maybe, that, even though it was RC planes, that kind of decided a lot of what I do in my life. It made me very curious about accidents, how they occur, whether it be a car crash or a plane crash, either one. A lot of people are just satisfied with the cause of the accident, the overall cause of it. And we had a mid-air recently at our airfield that 2 guys had a mid-air, and one of the planes, of course, it came down immediately. It was pretty obvious what was wrong with it. I mean, it broke it all to pieces. But the other one flew for a while before it went in. Most people have just been happy to know, well, they had a mid-air. Well, that's the reason they both went in. But I stay curious about things like that. Like I said, it took a while, but I finally determined what had actually brought the second plane down. And it was a mixture between the damage sustained during the impact of the mid-air, previous damage to the plane had been prepared incorrectly in pilot error. The man was actually flying it, slowed the plane down further than it could handle with the damage that it had. So I mean, just that one mid-air that I had my father when I was about 12. made it led me to stay in the mechanical side of things, and really has stayed a challenge ever since then to me for the rest of my life. That's it.
Yay!
What
So let's